Head voice is way louder than falsetto, and here's why. Hi folks, I'm Voba. I'm a singer and a vocal trainer, and this is my channel about anatomical vocal training. I made a video about head voice and falsetto and anatomically how to see the clipping of the vocal cords inside the vocal cords. Now, head voice is way louder than falsetto for several reasons. The first reason is that your full vocal cords vibrate, right? It's not just parts of it. Like if I clap my hands and I clap my hands only, the back part, it's not as loud as if I clap my entire hands, right? Same thing with the vocal cords. If only parts of the vocal cords can actually, vibrate, then it's not going to be as loud as if the whole vocal cords would vibrate. That's the first reason. Second reason is since they can, vibrate, they can oscillate more. Like they can, if my hands are only allowed to open that much, for clapping, I can be quite loud. But if I can open them however wide I want to, it's much easier to have louder noises. Same thing with the vocal cords. The more free they are to actually clap, to actually open and close, the louder they can be, the louder the voice can be, the louder they can clap against one another. Rather than just this, they can go like this, and it's louder. And the loudness of the voice has a lot to do also with how hard the vocal cords clap against each other, which I explain in depth in this video. But also it's about, it's kind of like the same thing. It's two sides of the same coin, meaning how hard they clap against each other means how long or short their opening phase is, right? If I have a rhythm and open and closing the vocal cords, I can either and close and close and close and close, or I can open and open and open and open, right? It's like a different rhythm. The longer they're open, the less loud. The shorter their period of being open is while they vibrate, right? While they vibrate with the same rhythm, you can have either and close, 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 or you can open, 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 open. So they close very shortly, or they close longer. And the longer they close, the harder they clap against each other, because there's more tension in the vocal cord. So that means the more tension there is in the vocal cords, the tighter they are, and that's why they clap more hard against each other. Now, the more tension means that when something is stretched, right, it's tension. You stretch something, then it creates a tension for the muscle. Now, the same thing if you stretch the vocal cords rather than just stretching them a little and then clipping them off, they are more stretched, right? They have to be stretched even longer in head voice than they would have to in falsetto. In falsetto, they just stretch up to a certain point and then they start clipping off, and then it's higher because of the clip off, because the vocal cord is shorter, but it's not the stretch. So if you had the same note, not with falsetto, you would have to open that little clipping off in the middle, and then you would have to stretch them even further. So that means that the tension that the vocal cords are under is even greater. Therefore, it's going to be louder because they're going to be under more tension, meaning they clap harder against each other just because they are stretched longer, they are pulled longer. So that's another reason why head voice is much louder than falsetto, because of the tension that the tension of the vocal cords that the vocal cords are under, the stretch tension is higher than with falsetto. And obviously, when you do head voice, you can pull your entire throat wide, right? With falsetto, you can't really pull your throat wide because you have to keep it narrow in order to do the clipping off of the vocal cords. Because if you pull the flesh of the throat wide, then your vocal cords will be pulled apart, so they can't do the clip off anymore, right? And so, as I explained in depth in that video. And so the thing is, for you to have more loudness of the voice, you need more space. Space equals resonance, right? So the more space you have in here, the louder your voice naturally is going to be. If I have just this space, my voice is that loud. If I have this space, my voice sounds louder already, just because I have more space, right? I'm not trying to be louder, it's just I have more space. So the thing is, the more space you have, the more resonance you have, the more loud your voice is. So with falsetto, your voice can't really be that loud because you can't create so much space, because you have to narrow the whole throat in order to be able to clip off the vocal cords. Once you pull everything wide, you can't clip off the vocal cords anymore because they're also part of the flesh and they're also pulled away from one another. They're pulled wide, so it makes it super hard for the vocal cords to really clip off when you have a very wide throat. But a wide throat makes you sound louder. Another reason why head voice is way louder than falsetto. And way louder, I mean like 5 to 8 times louder. Like it's way louder than falsetto. Also with falsetto, often it's not just the clipping of the vocal cords, it's clipping off plus pushing a lot of air through. Now, a lot of the more air you push through your vocal cords, the less loud you're going to be, because in order for your vocal cords to clap harder against each other, to have a longer phase of closing rather than opening, you will have to use less air and less and less and less. The less air you use, the longer the closing phase can be. And that's also a reason why I say your voice is not a wind instrument, because the less air you use, the more efficient it can work. And I explain in depth in that video why your voice is, the muscle action is more important than the air. Because when we talk about air, people think that there's like, the feeling has to be like a constant airstream, but the feeling can be more like holding your breath rather than an airstream. And that what makes it more effective for your vocal cords to just close, and therefore be louder. And that's another reason why head voice can be way louder than falsetto, because you don't need the air push, right? With head voice, when you really pull your voice, you pull your vocal cords along without clipping it off, then you don't have to, because when you clip them off, they can't really vibrate the lower part can't vibrate, right? It's only the upper part. And then you kind of like immobilize them. So you have to use some air push in order to really get them work. That's why falsetto, and especially whistle notes, they're often like airy. They have this wind, this air behind them, because otherwise you wouldn't, the vocal cords are fluttering because of the air. They're not really vibrating like when you would really pull your voice. So therefore, the less air you use, the louder. That means your voice can be louder, right? And that means head voice, therefore you can use less and less air pressure rather than falsetto. Falsetto, usually there are exceptions, but usually people have a tendency to have to use more air pressure because they can't make the muscle really, the whole thing vibrate. So they have to use more air pressure to make it like flutter in the wind. And so when you can use the whole muscle to really vibrate, then obviously your voice is going to be louder. So those are the basic reasons, the fundamental reasons why head voice can be way louder than falsetto. And I hope it inspires you to use more head voice and less falsetto. And if it does, please give me a like, or, leave me a comment. What are your experiences with head voice and falsetto? Can you actually hear when you go into falsetto, or when other people go into falsetto and not pull the vocal cords longer anymore, but start clipping them off? And subscribe to my channel if you like my content. I see you around. Don't go yet, here's some important information. If this is all a bit out of context for you and you don't know quite how to put all of this together, I have created a playlist of the full anatomical vocal training, so that you understand from beginning to end, where it starts, why this muscle, why that muscle, because some of the videos that I'm doing out of context, they might be like, why are you doing this, right? So if you go to my channel, you will go to the playlists, and then you will find the full anatomy playlist right there, and it has everything from start to beginning, why to stretch what muscle groups, how to stretch them, why to begin there, what to do. So it's kind of like a chronological order so that you can really have a full understanding of the whole thing that I'm teaching here. So check it out. I see you over there.